remembers that game in the late 70s called Hungry Hungry Hippos? You know, the one where you smack the crap out of the hippo's tail and it chomps all the balls, and the person who got the most balls won the game? Well, Solar Color sent me one of their mascots, and it happens to be a hippo. Check this thing out. This thing looks awesome. They asked me if I could cast the hippo in resin, and they also want me to use their Super Chameleon flakes. This is the purple, red, yellow and green. So I'm going to paint this on a piece of burl, and we're going to turn this into a display piece. I've decided the way I'm going to make this is very similar to my Snap-on bike, but instead of casting in a big container, I'm going to go ahead and cast in this PVC pipe. So the first thing I need to do is shape this piece of burl until it fits in the pipe. I've got myself a scrap bit of PVC, that's so I can check the fitment as I go along. You'll notice that my piece of burl got smaller. That's because I took it to the bandsaw and I just cut a piece off this edge because it was quite large to start with. And now I've shaped it up so we've got a nice fit in our PVC pipe. Before I cast the burl, I'm just going to stabilise it by using my homemade vac chamber. Now all that's left is to pop it in the oven for a couple of hours. And just like that, we're back out of the oven. My burl's all nice and dry. The next thing I'm going to do is drill some holes so I can sit in the hippo. Well, it looks like we've got a pretty nice fit there, but the one thing I'm worried about is the hippo being too high and hitting the top of the PVC pipe. So just as I thought, he's not going to fit. Now instead of cutting his ears off, which I really don't want to do, I may have to cut his feet off. Now I don't really want to do that either. I really don't want to use a bigger mold because I don't want to cast a piece that's too large. Now I could just drill these holes a bit further down, but when I go to turn this on the lathe, I don't want to risk coming through the bottom here and exposing the feet. Now I know that once I paint the burl and put this in resin, you're not really going to see the feet too much, so I think if I just cut about 5mm off the bottom, it should be okay. So I just took a little bit off his feet. I didn't take too much off, it was a couple of mil, and also took a bit out of the middle of the burl here. So you can see there he's a real nice fit. You can't really tell I took anything off his feet. Now he's got enough clearance in the mold that I won't take his ears off. My next step will be to apply the pigment, but before I do that, I'm going to paint this burl black. That's all nice and dry. The next step is to put on the pigment. And to do that, I'm just going to take some UV resin. Don't you reckon this bottle looks like Darth Vader? I'm covering a pretty big piece of burl, so I'm going to have to use a fair bit of this. Check that out. That's a beautiful looking colour. Now the more you put in, the better the effect's going to be. You know what? I'm just going to use it all. It's got like a galaxy look to it. Should be a great contrast against the hippo. Check that out. That looks pretty cool. Now all I need to do is cure that with my UV torch. Now I need to glue in the hippo, and I'm just going to do that by putting some UV resin on his feet. Perfect. Now we're ready to cast. Now the way I'm going to cast this is I'm going to put the hippo on its side in here like this, and then I'm going to stand it up. Now to stop it from falling over, I'm just going to put some 5-minute epoxy on the back and glue it down. Nearly forgot. I want to spray some mold release inside of here. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm willing to give it a try. Now I'm just going to leave that to dry and then we'll pour in the resin. Good luck, little buddy. Here we go. And now for cup number 2. Well, there we have it. Now I'm going to go pop this in the pressure pot and we'll check on it tomorrow. And here it is. Looks like we've got a nice casting. So the next thing we need to do is cut this back off and then try and get it out of the pipe. Now because we sprayed mold release in there, I'm hoping that I can just give this backside a tap and it should come out. I got it to release and move forward, so I just need to give it a few more good taps, I think. There we go. I just knocked him back the other way. Pretty much comes straight out. Now I'm just going to go over to the disc sander. I'm going to square up the front and back edges and glue on some waste blocks. Now I'm just going to leave that to cure, and once it has, I'll flip it over and put one on the back. The waste blocks are all dry now, so now I can mount it up to the lathe. Hopefully it doesn't fly off and whack me in the face. Just in case it does, I always wear my face shield. What I'm trying to aim for here is just a nice cylinder shape. I'm trying to take off as little as possible. So I'm just doing light passes because I know that the hippo's ears are very close to the top here and we don't want to go nicking them. I think my plan's going to be, once I've exposed all this burl, that's going to be my stopping point. So I've almost got my perfect cylinder shape, and you can see here that I'm almost all the way through to the burl, which is where I want it to be. So my next step is to take my skew chisel and use it like a scraper and just run across this edge until I get it nice and smooth. Now I've got it scraped all nice and flat, there's a couple more things I want to do. I want to round over these ends and also want to slightly part them as well, just to make it easy to sand. Now that all the shaping's finished, our next step is sanding. That's another fun part. If you guys want to know more about sanding and polishing resin, I've got a video on how to do it. I'll leave a link in the description. Now I'm going to take it to the buffing wheel and start polishing it up. I've got the hippo back on the lathe. I've covered it up just so I don't scratch it up. And now I'm going to part this back waste block off and then start sanding it up. Now that I've got my ends all sanded and polished, I'm just going to cover these ones up so they don't get scratched. My next step is to make the stand. I've got a couple of burl offcuts and I'm going to cut a semicircle so the hippo can sit on top. I only have to do a rough cut because now I can take it to the bobbin sander and sand to the line. How easy was that? Now I just got to trace this onto the second one. Now that I've got the stand all sanded, I'm just going to give it a quick coat of resin to seal it up. Okay, you guys ready for the big reveal? Check this out. Look at that. How cool does he look? See how the hippo has a thin bubble layer on it? It's almost like he's been chrome dipped a little bit, and it gives a cool reflection of the burl underneath. I think it looks bloody unreal. Check out that colour shifting pigment. It looks so cool. I do have one more surprise to show you, but first we'll put it on the stand. Alright, I promised you a surprise. Check this out. How cool does that look? The little fella glows in the dark. Well guys, what did you think of that one? Quite like this one. I like the way I got that little chrome effect on there by that thin bubble layer, and the way it gives the reflection of the burl underneath. I think it looks quite good. That hippo was a part of a 4-piece mascot set that I did for Solar Colour Dust. It included 2 of their fire guys and another hippo. If you want to see how I made these, you can check the videos out on my Instagram page. If you want to try any of their colour changing pigments for yourself, I'll leave a link to their website in the description. Well, that's all for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.